Welcome to BasketballHeadzz Live. I'm your host, Glenn Poole Harding. And in honor of Black History Month, it's only right we bring to you our first Hall of Fame guest. This New York City legend is an NBA Hall of Fame inductee who blazed the trail for young African Americans coming up wanting to play ball at the highest level. Many ball players across the country will have never had the chance to play in the ACC, Big Ten, Big East, SEC, or any other big-time college conference. This basketball head attended Davidson High School because he was not just an amazing ball player, he was an A-plus student. His team at Davidson was 1-27, and since he was one of the best ball players in the city, he figured he could help them out. Well, this basketball head was denied the opportunity to join the team because of his skin color. Not letting that stop him, he left New York City and attended Larenburg Institute Prep School in North Carolina. At Larenburg, he would excel on and off the court, averaging an amazing 30 points and 12 assists per game, while graduating valedictorian. With this one move from New York City to North Carolina, he opened doors and opportunities for countless of other ballers from New York City that will go on to attend Larenburg Institute, which was the Oak Hill Academy of its day. After graduating, he accepted a scholarship from the late great coach Dean Smith of North Carolina University, becoming the first African-American scholarship athlete at the University of North Carolina. He will become a legend while still dealing with racial issues on and off the court. Let's run down a few stats. 2-time All-American, 3-time All ACC, and Athlete of the Year in the ACC in 1970, just to name a few. Opting out of the 1970 NBA draft, he struck gold in the ABA, winning Rookie of the Year, averaging a staggering 34 points an outing, and playing on the same team as Dr. J. So while he was putting the buckets, Dr. J was grabbing his rebounds, following it up for him. That's how great of a player he was. The next stop would eventually be the NBA, but he made sure to come back home and play in the Rucker, where he became a top 50 player and an all-time Rucker player. In his 8 years in the NBA, he was one of the best players in the world, winning the championship with the Boston Celtics, 3-time NBA All-Star, and Hall of Fame inductee. Without further ado, help me welcome to the show, NBA legend and Hall of Fame inductee, Charlie Scott.
Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped into the world of chaos, where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Oh man, look, it took me a couple of days to try to get this intro right because it's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm glad for being here and hope I can be, some assistance to your show.
Listen, this would be the biggest interview I had today. It was Ross Strickland, and I think you definitely tipping it over the scales with this one.
Okay, I hope so.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah. So we want to get right into it. Who introduced you to the game?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I started playing basketball when I was about 11 or 12 years old. And first I was a baseball player. I liked playing baseball because, I grew up in New York City. And at that time, they had the Yankees and they had the Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers. So, I was a big But the thing about it was that when most people were rooting for, most blacks were rooting for the Dodgers and the Giants, I was rooting for the Yankees. So I mean, I grew up a baseball fan, but and it's really funny. What happened was that, you know, where I lived, there was a basketball court, and I wasn't really that good. Started playing basketball, but I noticed that, you know, girls came out in the gym and could watch the guys play basketball, and so, you know, I took an interest. I started playing basketball at the age of 11 and 12, and started playing bitty basketball, and got really involved in it at that time.
You'll be surprised. 70% of all the guys that I've interviewed said they started playing football or football or baseball first before basketball.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, at the time, you know, especially when I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, you know, baseball, you know, was the #1 sport. Especially, like I said, I lived in New York, where you had at that time the Dodgers, Yankees, and the Giants. You know, I mean, it was, and of course, you know, I lived on 131st Street, and that wasn't far from where Roy Campanella had his place. And so, you know, I mean, baseball was very big at that time. So I started out playing baseball, but to be honest with you, I mean, I played on the PAL team, but, you know, that fastball kind of scared me. So, you know, that's when I went to playing basketball.
A short story. One of my closest friends who I went out for the baseball team with, he got hit in the eye our first game, and we both quit. And then I started playing basketball after that.
I understand. You know, like I said, you know, that fastball, like I said, and PAL and guys pitching, you know, like, it was kind of hard too, and I didn't have a good glove, so, you know, I played out in center field so the ball wouldn't get to me too quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
When did you know you was a good student? Let's talk about school for a minute. When did you know you was a good student?
Well, to be honest with you, I can't take credit for that. I have to say, you know, that it was really my teacher. I had a teacher. I was in a class back then that was called 7SP, Special Progress. It didn't mean slow people. It meant special progress. It was the higher education class. And I had a teacher that really, she saw the potential in me more than I saw in myself. He really pushed me to become a good student. And in fact, you know, at that time, like I said, I played basketball, and I wanted to go to a school like Benjamin Franklin or Converse, which had, and DeWitt Clinton, which had basketball, you know, backgrounds to it. And she had me take the test for Stuyvesant High School, which was a predominantly academic school in New York City. And unfortunately, I passed the test and was able to get in there. And she was the one that pushed me. I mean, I had her for really 3 years, and I give really most of my credit for really my educational background and really my educational vigor with her. She made me the person that I was as far as wanting to be a good student. And I have to give all credit to her.
Yeah, I think you had three angels in your life, according to my research. Now I'm hearing the first one was the teacher.
Yeah,
because if you would have ended up at DeWitt Clinton or Benjamin Franklin, we probably not telling the story.
Oh, that's most for sure. I mean, she was, well, not only that, I would have not even want. I mean, she had me think about things that I never thought about before. She took us to play. She took me to play. She took me downtown. She showed me a part of life that growing up on 131st Street I had never experienced before. So she really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and she was probably more aware of what my potential was than I was. You know, I didn't have a very good background from a family standpoint, but she became really the parental guidance for me at that time in my life.
Do you remember the first game that you played in?
Oh, yeah. I remember the first basketball game I played was bitty basketball, and that was, 11 or 12 years old. And tell you, really, I played bitty basketball, and that's when the basket was like, they had it for us was like 8 or 9 feet tall. And I remember playing, and the best player on my team was a guy named Ernie Nelson, and I wanted to be so much like him. But the thing about it, we played bitty basketball. I played for a team called Snooky Sugar Bowl, which was on 28th Street, I think it was. I owned a restaurant named Snooky's. I played for Snooky Sugar Bowl. And we played in the bitty league. And the thing about it is that the year I played bitty basketball is so funny. It's the same year that Coach Greg Popovich played bitty basketball for the national tournament. So somewhere along the line, we ran into each other on the bitty basketball national tournament scene down in Louisiana.
So you was doing it big early. That's good. Who was the best player in your neighborhood coming up?
I said a guy named Ernie Nelson. He was the
Ernie Nelson. He was the best player in the
That's
neighborhood.
when we were bitty basketball players. But as I got older, I mean, and the thing about me was that I grew a lot. I grew like 4 or 5 inches one summer. So I started hanging out with older guys at that time. And one of the guys I used to hang out with was a guy named Earl Manigault. So, you know, so I was 13 and 14 and he was 16, but I was hanging out with a guy like Earl Manigault and these were the guys because I was a little better in basketball than the guys at my age, and then I was a lot taller. I was a center most of the time when I was playing with those guys. But yeah, those were the guys I was playing with. Earl Manigault, Red Cobb, Ori Cobb, guys who went on. Ori Cobb went on to Marquette, and you know, and everybody knows the story about Earl Manigault. So I mean, those were the guys that I was playing at that time.
Now, we all heard, you know, the rumors about him being able to jump on the backboard and take 50 Cent off, right? Those mental legends we hear for years.
Okay.
Was he a really good ball player, like at your level?
Okay, what's the next question?
You answered it, OG. You answered it. You got it. You got it.
I mean, what I would say is that, put it this way. You gotta remember, I mean, Earl Manigault was a 5'11" power forward. So I mean, I get it now. That's what I'm saying. You know, for the era
right.
of basketball, and I mean, like it was for 5'11" at that time to be able to dunk in a game. You know, doing this at that time in the 60s was phenomenal. So I mean, that's what I mean. You know, his ability, the position would not have going on as it was. He was a 5'11" power forward back then.
Gotcha. It makes sense. So what you ended up at Stuyvesant was strictly an academic move.
Yes.
Right? Credit to your teacher. You still wanted to play basketball.
Well, the thing,
right? These guys they were 1 in 27, and you still wanted to play, and that tells a lot about you and your character.
Well, the thing about it was that, you know, I wanted to play on the basketball team because I mean, like, Stuyvesant was a school where 98% of the graduates went to school on academic scholarships, and they wanted to go to Ivy League schools, and that was the predominantly education of those who went there. But I mean, I was a little different. I wanted to go to a school that had a basketball background. So at that time, especially when I was in high school and at Stuyvesant, NYU was a big basketball powerhouse at that time. And you know, they had Barry Kramer and guys like that. So I was looking to try to get a basketball scholarship. So I wanted to go out for the basketball team, and I never forget the guy's name. I mean, his name was Ed Cavallero. And I mean, I went out and he told me that, you know, that he did not allow, you know, freshmen or sophomores to play on the basketball team. And the team was 1 in 27. And he would not allow me to play on the team. And I decided that if I was going to be able to play basketball, I would have to, you know, go somewhere else. And luckily, I played on an AAU team that had a couple of players that were going at that time down to Larenburg Institute, and they told me about where they were going and what they were going to be involved in and what the school was about. And it was so funny that the year that they were telling me about it, they had 3 guys that were graduating from that school at the time. One guy named was James Barlow, who was one of the best backcourt players from our era. Another guy named was Dexter Westbrook, who was 6'7", who went to Providence. And the third guy at that school name was Jimmy Walker, who went to Providence, ended up being the #1 draft choice in the 1966 draft for the Detroit Pistons and an All-American all the way around. So, and you know, so I mean, they were leaving, but the pedigree of the school had really been there, and I decided that, you know, that would be my best opportunity really to get a basketball scholarship and then really to go to college.
Wow, Jimmy Walker, Jalen Rose's father, number
Yeah,
one draft pick. Look at that, Larenburg. I had a couple of friends that went to Larenburg as well. Keith Stroud, Anthony Ravel, and Lloyd Daniels.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
And one of my coaches, the great Gil Reynolds, used to coach there.
yes, that's true. And the thing about it, what people don't know is that Jimmy Walker went there, but uh, the first great basketball player out of Larenburg Institute named is Sam Jones. And people don't know that Sam Jones.
No, I didn't know. I read about it today. Yes.
I mean, he's originally from Larenburg. He was from that area, and he went to that school. And Mr. McDuffie
Wow.
always. And in fact, I always kid Sam because when I was a junior at Larenburg, Mr. McDuffie took us to see the Boston Celtics play. I think it was that time the San Francisco Warriors, at a game at Charlotte Coliseum. I had the opportunity to meet Sam Jones for the first time. And I always kid him about it because, as a kid growing up from New York City and never really being around professional athletes, I mean, to get the opportunity to meet a professional athlete, and I was so excited about meeting them. And I never forget that my coach used to say, Sam, I want you to meet a young man named, Charles Scott. He's a real young man. And I put my hand out to meet Sam, and the first thing Sam did was give me $1 and say, go out and buy me some popcorn, kid. And that, and I never let him forget it. I keep telling him every time I see him that the first thing he ever did to me was, would burst my ego about meeting a professional basketball player. But, Sam was the first really true basketball player from that era. And, I had opportunity, just to follow in those guys' footsteps, to be honest.
Now you moving down to North Carolina. Did you have to deal with a lot of racial problems down there as well?
Well, really, I didn't move to Larenburg. Larenburg is a private prep school. Like I said, it's just like Oak Hill. It was Oak Hill before Oak Hill. I mean, like 80% of the students there were from the North Carolina area.
Gotcha.
It's a private school, but the basketball team itself were a conglomerate of players from all over the country. And like I said, it was the same circumstance as Oak Hill, and guys went there with the idea of going to college, gaining college scholarships. And like I said, my roommate at the time named was Skip Hayes. He went on to Providence. My other roommate, Al Williams, went on to Winston-Salem State. And so, I mean, the school was known for, putting out basketball prodigies. So, I mean, and I remember in my class, my class went on to college, one had scholarships to college. So it was really known, from the basketball program, really very well known. But the most important thing about the school, it really taught you, work ethics, and it really prepared you for college because Mr. McDuffie, he made us. It was like, 7 to 9, you were in the dormitories with always study hours. So you gained that knowledge of, you gained how to learn how to study, which benefited me when I went to college after that point.
Yeah, and that's your second angel right there, Coach McDuffie.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, Mr. McDuffie, not only he's an angel, he's a naysayer. I mean, and to be honest with you, he probably had more to do with me going to North Carolina than anybody else in this world, because if I'd have had my choice, and really at the end of my senior year, if I had my choice of who was my favorite coach and who was the guy I would want to be with and play for, would be Lefty Driesell. I mean, Lefty and I are still great friends. I mean, I consider him one of the most important persons in my life because he was one that put the light on me, shine the light on me from a national standpoint. That actually, really, Lefty was the first person to recruit me, and it was after him that after that, had 100 scholarship offers to major colleges all over the country. But he was the one that first recruited me, and he was the one that always, showed interest in me. And to this day, I mean, I always tell people, Coach Smith is really, my father died when I was very young, at 14. So Coach Smith was always to me, a father figure. But Lefty comes in as a second father figure. I mean, up to this day, we are always still very close. So that was really the significance of that circumstance. Lefty was really the first person that really showed interest in me.
And was that Davidson University?
Yeah, Davidson College. Davidson College.
Davidson, right? And when you went there, they had the Jubilee weekend.
No, no, no. You got it a little backwards. No, see, but
Tell me about the Jubilee weekend. Was that North Carolina?
No, but that was North Carolina. That was
Got you.
that I had committed to Davidson College, and this is where I'm saying, and this is where I say Mr. McDuffie was a lot wiser and had a lot more idea of what happened. I committed to Davidson College, and Mr. McDuffie would not allow me to sign a letter of intent early. He told me, since I was young, I needed to go visit other places and, gain more knowledge. And he was right about that. And to give you an idea of how right he was, I visited Purdue University. And when I visited Purdue, they took me out to eat to dinner. So when they took me out to eat to dinner, we sat at the table, and the first thing the guy asked me, well, what kind of steak do you want? So I never knew steak had names to it. I never had a steak in my life, so I never knew.
Right.
So he said, I said, well, what kind of steaks do you have? He said, well, we got a filet mignon. I said, well, I don't like fish. Don't give me no filet. So then they started naming steaks, And when he said New York, I said, well, I'm from New York. Give me a New York strip. So therefore, I got the New York steak. But then when he really got me, they said, okay, what kind of dressing do you want on your salad? And like I said, I grew up in Harlem, and this was the 50s. So anytime I saw lettuce and tomatoes, the only thing I ever thought ever went on it was mayonnaise. So I said mayonnaise. So, at that point in time, I went back to Larenburg after my visit to Purdue, and Mr. McDuffie said, well, tell me about your trip and how did it go? And I told him all the things that happened. I told him about the incident. He said, well, Charles, tomorrow I'm going to enroll you in home economics. So from now on, when you go on trips, you will know exactly how to act and how to present yourself and what to order. And
Wow.
So again, he understood the importance of that. And then again, like I said, I still was set on going to Davidson. There was only one other school I wanted to go to if I didn't go to Davidson. And that's when I visited UCLA out in Los Angeles. And when I got off the plane, and there was the pom-pom girls to meet me at the airport, and then I go in Los Angeles, I drive me through Beverly Hills and through Westwood, and at that time, Kareem and I was, we had grown up together. I knew him. He was a freshman, and I met him, and we went out that weekend, and it was Los Angeles, and I told Coach Wooden at that time, I said, well, listen, I'm valedictorian in my class. I don't have to go back to Larenburg, because if I go back, Coach McDuffie ain't gonna let me come back out here. He's out here right now, and I'll sign a letter of intent because he won't let me sign it when I go back. So, that was the only other place that it really, I had in my mind. But other than that, I was really stuck on going to Davidson College, because I said Lefty. In fact, what Lefty had let me do was that after I told him I was going to go there, he let me decide the other 4 freshmen that was going to be recruited by him. In other words, every time he had a freshman visit there, at that time, you could take as many visits to a college as you wanted to. So he would have somebody come pick me up at Larenburg and drive me to Davidson, and I would be out there that same weekend. And he would ask me, how did I like this guy and how did I like that guy? Now, I ended up picking the other 5 guys that ended up going to Davidson, Doug Cook and Mike Malloy and all those guys. Those were the guys I told Lefty I wanted to play with. And so those were the guys he gave scholarships to. And I was all set to go there. But like I said, Miss McDuffie in his wisdom kept taking me to the University of North Carolina every weekend to see a basketball game. And finally, he took me there the weekend that was called Jubilee Weekend. And that was the weekend, weekend before finals at a school. And on that weekend, Jubilee Weekend, University of North Carolina had Smokey Robinson and the Miracles and the Temptations. And that was it for me. Any school that had Smokey Robinson and the Miracles and the Temptations Jubilee Weekend, that was right. It for me. Plus, to be honest with you, and this is the honest to God truth, when I was in Larenburg, I got one fan letter from a girl every year. This girl used to write me every year. I'll never forget. And she lived in Durham. She went to Hillside High School, which is the high school that John Lucas's father was the principal of. Her name was Dolly Faye Smith. And she used to write me a letter she wrote me a letter for a whole year because we played Hillside High School. So I figure also, not only was I going to a school that, you know, that has Smokey Robinson and the Miracles and the Temptations, but only 8 miles away was Durham, where Dolly Faye Smith was. So I had an already maiden girlfriend, so life was wonderful for a guy at that time. So, you know, especially going to an all-white school where I knew that my choice of women was going to be very limited. You know, it was
Right.
You know, that was for me as a 17-year-old. That was a sure thing to have a sure girlfriend. So I mean, those things. It'd be funny. The most important things that make you choose the school, and at that time, that was the most important thing. Coach Smith. I mean, to be honest with you, Coach Smith might have been the second, no, maybe the third, because Larry Brown was his coach, and I really liked Larry more than anyone else. And the thing about it was that after the Jubilee weekend, when Larry Brown and Coach Loss was driving me back to Larenburg, they asked me, did I enjoy myself? And I said, yeah, I had a great time. They said, well, you know, what do you think about the school? I said, well, yeah. I said, you know, North Carolina, you know, real good. They said, well, you think you want to come? So, you know, when the kids in that, you know, in that chance, he said, yeah, I want to come. But Mr. McDuffie had always given me an out because he had always told me, yeah, I want to come, but Mr. McDuffie won't allow me to sign a letter of intent because he wants me to visit other schools. So I had my out. I said, well, yeah. I said, yeah, I would love to come to North Carolina. I said, but Mr. McDuffie said that I can't sign a letter of intent, you know, this time of the year. So they drove me back to Larenburg, and then when they got out the car, so Mr. McDuffie said, well, how much did you like it, Charles? And so Larry said, well, Mr. McDuffie, Charles said he wants to come, but you said he couldn't sign a letter of intent, you know, right now. And to my surprise, Mr. McDuffie said, no, he can sign a letter of intent if he wants to go to North Carolina. So, but again, that was his wisdom and understanding the importance of going to the state university as compared to going to a private university at that time. You know, he understood the importance of going to the University of North Carolina, of being the first Black athlete to have a scholarship to the University of North Carolina. I mean, it wasn't just the importance of being the first Black athlete, you know, on a basketball team. It was the importance of the State University of North Carolina, the very first university, you know, and I mean, state public university in America was University of North Carolina. So he understood that significance, and I gather years later that that's where he was really pushing me for, because he understood the importance of being the first one there. But not only that, his wisdom was far greater than he thought it would be, because also I would never have imagined that Coach Smith would end up being as important to my life as he ended up being at that time in being.
Wow. And you were the perfect player at the time for the school, the right temperament, the right grades, and the right skill set. So it worked out right for you, man.
Yeah, I mean that was true, and also I mean, I have to give credit to the guys that were there, because the people that really made it possible for me to feel comfortable, because I mean I had no undue vision about where I was going to school and what I was dealing with. I had dealt with, you know, bigotry in the 3 years that I went to Larenburg, so I understood that. But, you know, the idea that, you know, my teammates, you know, and you know, again, I played with a guy who was a 2-time All-American when I was, you know, becoming a sophomore, named Larry Miller, and his acceptance of me on the team, and his acceptance of me allowing me to be the player that I can be at that time, and the other guys, Rusty Clark and Dick Gruber. I mean, those guys were really more important to me at that time than Coach Smith was, because those guys that I really played with, that I was around all the time. Coach Smith, you know, I saw in the gym, but those are the guys that I lived in the dormitory with. Those were the guys I went on the road with, and those were the guys that had to make me put me in a comfort zone that I was able to succeed at the height that I was able to succeed at, because of their confidence in me and the confidence that they made me feel about myself.
Yeah, because if you're going through all that racial tension off the court and then your teammates don't embrace you, you don't have the career that you have, you know. So
yeah, I mean, especially at that time, like I said, you know, and people got to understand, and I don't look at. I mean, I look at it with, you know, I mean, with great pride at the fact that people don't understand that when I played at the University of North Carolina, there wasn't any Black football players at any school in the South. There wasn't any black baseball players in any school in the South. There weren't any black athletes on any major Southern school at that time. You know, maybe in track was the only thing where they might have had a black athlete at those schools, but not in their major sports. So the very first major black sports figure that a Southern person had the chance to see was me. So I mean, I understood the responsibility and to be able to succeed had to be just not me, but a group of people that helped me along that way. And so, I mean, my teammates were very instrumental. And of course, Coach Smith, Larry Brown, and John Locke. I mean, those people were very instrumental in me being able to succeed and being in the mindset that I felt like I could do it really without any help, because I did not have any, you know, I mean, there was just so much they could do. It was the South. It was the 60s. You know, and it was something that I would have to deal with. But they made it so that I did not feel that I was doing these things by myself.
The transitions that you had to make as a young man, you know, from Davidson High School, you had to make another transition in Larenburg, you're making another transition in North Carolina. It's just a constant transition. And you have to be built for something like that, because a lot of guys fold under that pressure or succumb to drugs or, you know, other things, elements that people go through at those times of pressure. And you took it and you ran with it and you made the best of it.
Well, I mean, and to be honest with you, I mean, I really have to give more credit and credence to those people that I look to as mentors, because I mean, I was a blank page. I did not know which direction to go. I was just lucky that I took a hold of the right mentors, that the people that I listened to really did have my interest at heart, really did try to pull the most out of me, to get the most potential out of me. I was very fortunate in that circumstance, because it could have easily just have gone another direction with different types of people, because I was just looking for leadership. Like I said, my father died when I was 14. My mother left me when I was 11. So really from the age of 11 to 21, I was really on my own. So I was always looking for direction from somebody. And when you're looking for direction, you know, sometimes you could be led in the
Hopefully get it clear. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, and on here, we like to ask guys about mentors, because I'm a mentor as well as a high school coach. And it's important that, you know, we be in these young guys' lives, because like yourself, I was a young guy who grew up without a father as well. Well, I had a dad, but he wasn't in my life. But I was reaching out to different people who can guide me in the right direction. And I think these young guys have to find the right people to be in their life to guide them in the right direction, so they could have a successful life at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, you know, I think, you know, we all, you know, the thing about it, and this is what I really learned, and which, I mean, I always tell myself, you know, when I was 17, I couldn't wait to be 21, you know, and when I was 21, when I was 31, I realized how dumb I was at 21. And when I was 41, I was stupid at 31. You learn that you learn with life, and you learn that, you know, that you're not as smart as you think you are, and there's always room for learning. Luckily, like I said, for me was that, you know, because I started out with not much confidence in myself, I was open for other people to give me input. And I said, fortunate enough, I ran into the right people to give me the right type of input.
So let's talk about this Duke game, all right? You know, we all know about the stats in college and how well you did, being an All-American, you know, All ACC. But there was a time when you was playing the game and things wasn't working right.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you didn't give in. Well, and hit one of the biggest shots in North Carolina's history. And this is before Michael Jordan shot.
Oh. Well, you know what, though? I mean, see, first of all, you know, and this again, this is from, I mean, basketball. Now this is the part of competitiveness in basketball. Now that comes from Harlem, because when you're out there playing on the street, it's 15 baskets. First one to 15.
That's right. That's right.
And if you lose, you don't know when you're getting back on the court again and whatnot. Outside, you know. See,
talk about it. Talk about it. Tell them.
You know,
tell them.
So you know, you play. In fact, you know, it always be you always have 4 good ball players and one guy who was the bully who made sure that when you made a call that you could hold up to your call. And, you know, when you could fight for that 15 point. You know, you had 4 guys who could play and one guy who was the bully for that. You know, could beat up everybody else and make sure that you could stay on the court. But you know, playing pressure like that. I mean, and people don't understand. That's how we grew up in Harlem. You know, because you had one court, you had about 5 or 6 teams want to play. So when you win, you stay on. When you lose, you get off, and you might not get back on for another hour and a half. So you know, I mean, playing to win and pressure is what you grew up with in playing basketball. When you played it like that, street. I mean, like I said, it wasn't AAU. This was just in the park basketball, and every time it was 15 baskets. First one to 15 win. You had to win by 2. So therefore, you know, I mean, to me, that's the mindset I always had when I played, and it was like, you know, in the finals. I take credit for this, that still the ACC tournament record for the final is still my record. Right? 42 points in the final championship game. And that's and they didn't have a three point shot then, but
hold on. Who else did you crack that game?
That was Duke. That was Duke.
Oh,
I played Duke,
and they were just sending everybody at you.
Yeah. But you know what though? But like I said, that was you have a game sometime where like everything just seemed to go right, and that seemed like that game for me. Was that instant where, I made I hit like 12 out of 13 shots, and like I said, there was no 3-point line at that time. So, 40 points were 40 points, and it's still the record for the ACC tournament, final game. And, that was great, especially beating Duke. I always tell Grant Hill about that, the thrill is that, I hold a record in the ACC tournament for beating Duke in the finals. And the thing about it, we were down 9 at halftime against them, and they thought they were going to beat us because one of our star quarterback, point guard at that time, had tore his knee up in the semifinals, and we thought, and everybody thought we were through. But, that to me was great. And then to follow that up was to play against Lefty Driesell and Davidson, the 5 guys that I had recruited, to play them in the Eastern Regionals finals and hit the winning shot to beat them. Those were things that that really made my career what it was in college and all those things. But it also was a part of growing up, because I never forget at the time when I was playing during that year, my junior year, which probably was the best year of college I probably played. I was first team All-American. I was the MVP of the ACC tournament. I had scored 40 points. I was the MVP of the Eastern Regionals. I was first team All-American, the only player in the ACC to be All-American, but yet and still, John Roach was the ACC Basketball Player of the Year. And that was the first time I understood how much racism stood in even in athletics. And it was something that really, it was the first time I really felt put aside for something that I felt like I honestly deserved, and it was the first time that I understood that even in sports, racism still had its hand in things that happened. Up until that point, I really thought that on that floor, what you did mattered more than anything else. But that was something that awakened me to really life, to circumstances that that we still deal with today. That equality in performance is in the eyes of the beholder. Sometimes the eyes can be closed of the beholder. So
That's right. That's right.
I learned a quick lesson on that one, and it really I mean, helped me grow up a whole lot. And of course, the '68 Olympics was a great acknowledgement to me too. I mean, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Avery Brundage, who showed me what racism was about in the most strictest form. And you know, and like I said, I was part of the '68 Olympics. Had opportunity, you know, John Carlos and I, and it's a short story. John Carlos and I grew up together, and we went to the same junior high school. And I used to run track against him in the same junior high school. And at that time, there wasn't a 100 or 200-yard dash. It was only the 60-yard dash. And I used to come in first place in the 60-yard dash. I always
Wow.
that. But I mean, you know, the '68 Olympics and all those things, you know, I had opportunities to really see America from different perspectives. And, you know, I mean, some things I learned in life, but I mean, I also learned a lot about, you know, bigotry from the standpoint of really being personalized in it. Like I said, from the ACC tournament and from the Olympics, you know, I learned a lot of things that, you know, that carried me on and really helped me be the individual and to understand circumstances that had gone on since then in my life.
You got to be one of the most important basketball figures in history. Just all the things that you experienced and that you went through, and then at the time that you went through it, and then how you came out of it, and still understanding that, you know, we still live in two Americas.
Yeah, but like I said, you know, I mean, I can't really explain how fortunate I am and the people. I mean, I can't give enough credence to the Miss Jarrett's and the Mr. McDuffie's and Coach Smith and people, because I mean, they had a lot more to do with it, I mean, than anything else. Like I said, I was a piece of clay, you know, and the molding had to be done by others, and the internal had to be done by others. I was a piece of clay, so I feel fortunate, like I said, because I have so many other friends who could have, like I said, I remember the guy I keep telling you about, Ernie Nelson. I never forget his name. You know, when we were growing up, he was twice the basketball player I was, you know. He never, you know, never won anything. I mean, so many people that I've grown up with, you know, Pablo Robinson, Walter Robinson. I remember so many guys that I've grown up with. You know, I have a picture of when I was 14 years old on the AAU team, and out of the 14 guys on the team, only 3 of them made it past the age of 30. So, I mean, there are so many things that I can think of and that I know would have been different if it wasn't for those people in my life.
Well, you're definitely a walking testament for greatness. And, you know, I want to keep you on too long, but I just want to mention a few things. That game in Rucker Park, which was one of the greatest games in Rucker history, where P.B. Kirkland called you out in front of your girl.
Yeah, that's the only reason I played. Because, I mean, what happened was that I had gone up there to see Julius play. He was playing on a team called the West Sider that was coached by Pete Vesey. And it had, you know, Joe Dupree and a lot of other pros play. And I was going over there to watch.
Excuse me, Peter Vesey, the sports guy, Peter Vesey?
Yeah, Pete was the coach. He was the coach of the team. I said it was the West Siders. He was the coach of our team. And
okay.
And most of the guys from the team was from Long Island. Like I said, Joe Dupree and all those guys that went to St. John's. And those were the guys that was on that team. And Julius was on that team because Julius from Westbury, Long Island. So, you know, that was the West Side. And I had gone up there with my girlfriend and a friend. I had driven up from Virginia to watch Julius play. So I was standing on the side, and all the little kids just say, "Hey, Charlie, are you going to play?" No, I came to see Julius play. He wasn't Doc at that time. He was Julius. So, I mean, PB walked past me and said, "You going to play?" And I said, "Nah, I ain't going to play." He said, "What's the matter? You scared?" And so, you know, in front of my girlfriend, and in front of all, you know, everybody out there. And that was the day that the park was just jam-packed. You know, I mean, people was all over the roofs and all over every place. And being from Harlem, and anyway, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that on anyway. So that was the challenge within itself. So yeah, I got out and I played, and Julius and I played, and we played the game, and like I said, it became a legendary game, and we won the game. At the end of the game, I remember standing on the sideline, and I remember one of PB's guys walked up to me and said, "Hey, Charlie." I said, "What?" He said, "Don't come past 116th Street or your ass is dead." But at that time, we were up on 155th Street, so that was my area. I said, "Okay, yeah, you can talk that shit," but I mean, they said that, but I mean, nowadays, it was a big thing then, but the big thing for us was the fact that, and everybody knew at that time, Pee Wee them was the big gangsters, and so it was the
That's
good,
right.
They rolled up in Cadillacs and brought out the beach chairs and everything, and so, it was the good guys against the bad guys at that time. So, and like I said, I was holding my reputation. He can't embarrass me in front of my girlfriend at that time. I was young and took challenges on like that.
That's right. And you just came from doing it in front of crowds who was probably, didn't like you and still killing them. So this was nothing. You was home.
Yeah,
you was in your comfort zone.
And like I said, this rucker,
That's right.
Guys, you get called in rucker, you got to answer that response. I had played in rucker before. In fact, people don't. I mean, I played in the high school division. Me and Kareem played together in the high school division in the rucker tournament. So people don't even know that.
Just imagine if y'all would have played together in college. That would have been another set of history.
No, they didn't need me. They had enough. Like I said, I visited there, but you remember they had Lucius Allen, Mike Warren. They were loaded. They won three straight. So I don't think they missed anything.
Okay.
And in fact, we lost to them at my first year in the championship game. I lost to them in the championship game. And
wow. Okay.
But no. That team that he was on was probably the greatest college basketball team ever put together. They won 3 straight championships and 3 NCAA championships, and Kareem was probably the greatest college player that ever played the game. So I was just fortunate that our team was fortunate enough that we was always number 2 during those years. We never, UCLA was always number 1, but North Carolina was always number 2. So I take pride in the fact that our school was, we kept them up, in that national ranking.
Yeah, I found out Mike Warren was a ball player after. I saw my Hill Street Blues as a youngster. So that's
that Mike Warren
was
a basketball player, point guard. He could play.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that he never even went out for. He never went for professional basketball. As soon as he graduated, he went straight to the movies, and I was very surprised because he was a terrific basketball player. He was quick and as good as they come, but he never went further. But it worked out. It worked out pretty good for him. Worked out pretty well for him anyway.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it up real quick, but I want to have some fun real quick because this game is called Start, Bench, or Cut. All right, okay. We're gonna start it with you. We started with you. It's a brand new game that we're gonna do. Three guys. Who's gonna start? Who you gonna bench? And who you gonna cut?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Earl of Pearl Monroe. Nate Tiny Archibald, Walt Clyde Frazier.
Oh shit! I'm not cutting any of those guys. You can't. Come on. And who the hell are you gonna bench on that?
All right, because I knew that was gonna be a tough one. I knew that was gonna be a tough one.
First of all, it's not tough. It's impossible. Because you don't start, bench, or cut any of those guys. Come on. People might want to play games, but let's play truthful. Who you going to cut? Tiny Archibald at 35 points and 13 assists, or Earl of Pearl that made the world go round, or Smooth Clyde? Who you going to cut? Come on. All you doing by saying you cut one of them to start the argument. Really.
This is for everybody else. I just want to hear that. All right. I'll give you another list. I'll give you another list. That's not your era.
I can't.
One more list.
I couldn't. Those are 3 great, different, and really 3 different types of great basketball players.
Yes.
Different styles, but they were great. And who am I to cut any of them? Be honest. Who am I to say cut or bench any of them? Maybe Red Auerbach can do it, or Phil Jackson, not me. Okay, I don't have that type.
Okay, it's all good.
Okay,
top five players in New York City history.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, are you saying top 5 players, high school or all the way?
Top 5 New York City players.
You know what though? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Connie Hawkins, Roger Brown, and I'm gonna name somebody when he was in high school was probably one of the greatest players in high school. People don't even know that. They know him for something else. Vaughn Harper.
Yes, Vaughn Harper. Yes.
People know for WBLS.
Boys are great. Boys are great.
You know, Vaughn Harper. And let's see, that's 4. Dog, and I got 3 from Brooklyn. I'm really doing bad.
Brooklyn. That's what we do.
Let's see. And the 5th, let's see. Who did I say now? Vaughn Harper. Kareem.
You said Connie Hawkins. You said Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem.
Roger Brown.
Okay. Gosh. See, I'm going to be open-minded. I got to say Tiny. I'm going to put Tiny. So I'm not going to put myself, I'm going to say Tiny.
Tiny's on my list too.
Tiny.
Yeah.
So, so those are my 5 greatest basketball players out of New York. Now, the thing about it is that, you know what though? But see, Tiny became great really in the pros.
I heard that. And I already only played 1 year high school basketball.
Huh?
I only played 1 year high school basketball.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to take them back off because of that, because you're saying, you know, New York City basketball. And I'm saying, really, Tiny became great once he became a Kansas City Royal. Up until then, he was a 2nd-round draft choice. He had the ability, but really, Bob Cousy really let him explode to be the player that he became, and that he was able to be also, you know. But, see, I mean, God, I'm trying to think of who in New York. Let's see, those are 4 that, they were great in New York City basketball legend. That's what I'm talking about. See, they were great. If you ask street ball, all that, see, Tiny and all of us were great when we came back to the pros. These guys were great when they were in high school. You heard about, you know, Connie Hawkins, Roger Brown, you know, Vaughn Harper. See, that's what I'm saying. Kareem. These guys were great in high school. Okay. Who's the 5th one in high school? Well, I don't know. I guess I'll stay with Tiny from that standpoint.
I'll say Charlie Scott.
Well, you know what? From a high school standpoint, I'm not saying I'm one of the best 5 guys that ever come out. I'm not saying, but you know, when you take at the high school time period. No, I know who is high school.
Yeah, but you did on the college level, and you did on the pro level, and you came back, and you did in the park.
No, but I got to say, on the high school, you got to go Stephon Marbury, don't you?
Yeah, from my high school. Yeah, from Lincoln.
Yeah, you got to go Stephon Marbury. See, I'm just being honest. You talking about, you know, high school legends, that was high school legends in New York City that went on from there. Those are 5 guys that you could think of from high school. They were legends in high school, and then on from there. So that's what I'm giving those the 5 greatest high school. Players. Now, if you go to pros, then of course we got, you know, then we could go another route. But I'm saying the 5, you know, guys who when they were in high school, it was, you know, was Vaughn Harper, Roger, Connie. You know, they were in Stephon Marbury. You know, those were guys that you went to see in high school. That's what I'm saying. Wow. See, so I would give it to those 5 guys. Yeah.
Well, listen, you one of the few guys who did it on the high school level. You did it in big time college. You did it in the ABA. You came back to New York, killed in a rucker, then went to the NBA, won the NBA championship, and did on the NBA level with the All-Star. I don't think too many people can say they did that. You know, maybe Kareem.
Well, like I said,
from New York City.
Yeah, like I said, I admit, but and I'm gonna take. I'll give you one thing. See, Kareem got one thing over me, and I got one thing over him. He got the college championship. I got the Olympic championship.
Ooh, the Olympic. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. The gold medal
So I mean, so
in one of the most important Olympics in American history.
yeah. So so I mean, like I said, I mean, I feel very fortunate, for my, for my basketball career. I mean, I feel like I've been very fortunate. The people that I've come in contact with, the people that have helped me, gain, the notoriety, I mean, the people that have really built me to be the individual I am. I mean, like I said, I always understood that I mean, I'm grateful for those that had helped me. I know that it was not me. My ego does not go to me. It goes to Miss Jarrett. It goes to Miss McDuffie. It goes to Sam Jones. It goes to Dean Smith. It goes to Larry Brown. All those people that came into my life and say, hey, this young man has something worthwhile for me to help him and to become a person. And really, of course, Coach Smith, the most important person in my life, because I mean, that's 50 years of mentorship, and he taught me how to become a human being, how to become a person, and I mean, he was always there for not just me, for all 372 players that he ever had. And I mean, his commitment, it had no boundaries, and I always tell his wife when I see her, I knew she never thought she was gonna have 374 kids, but that's what she had when she married Coach Smith. So I mean,
Wow.
I have great respect for Coach Smith. That's my number one person for that every day that I mean, he's not here, but I hope every day I make him proud, because I mean, he was the one that really took the time to not just make me the person that I am, but every person that came through his system and came through the University of North Carolina. And I think if you ask anyone, they will all say the same thing.
Yeah. Michael Jordan talked well about you. Grant Hill talked well about you. All the guys who, that came after you and talked about what you meant to them. And I'm looking at you today, brother. You looking good, man. You looking good. I wish when I get older, I'm looking just as good as you, brother. How do you stay in shape? And this is gonna be my last question. How do you stay in shape, man? And you look phenomenal, man.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not in shape. I just have a very good metabolism that burns very good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not in any type of shape. I can't run. I couldn't run. I mean, the only thing I do is walk up and down the steps. My wife
yeah, true.
do more things than I do. I mean, because I mean, I never forget the first day I stopped when I retired from playing basketball, and I was living in California. And I went out and I started running. And I thought about it. I said, I've been running since I was 12 years old. I said,
That's right.
32. I'm stopping. I'm not going to run anymore. So I mean, that was something that I changed in. So no, I'm not in shape. I mean, I might look it, but I mean, I couldn't play basketball if I wanted to right now. I mean,
Well, none of us are in basketball shape, but you see a lot of guys who are younger than you, and they don't look as good as you, and how you taking care of yourself. So I like to ask all of my guests that, because of the day and time that we live in, make sure that we all taking care of ourselves.
Oh, well, that's most important. Yes, I mean, it's pretty hard times now with this COVID, but but luckily, like I said, I mean, I've been in, I've been home for about the last 9 to 10 months. In fact, I've been home so much, I don't even like myself. I don't know how my wife put up with me. I mean, sometimes now I don't like myself, so I mean,
wow.
But I mean, it gave me time to be introspective. I can tell you that much. You get to learn a whole lot in these last 10 months. You learn a lot about yourself. So, I mean, it's been good in some points, but, I mean, hopefully, we'll be through this in a little while.
Yes. Well, I started this 10 months ago because a lot of our New York City ball players were passing away. And this is something that we can bridge the gap and kind of get some lessons for the next generation who will hear these interviews, from years to come.
And the thing about it, and to be honest with you, I challenge New York ball players because California and every place else is taking over and whatnot. And I mean, we talk about Ruck and we talk about, that, but I mean, I mean, I don't know why players in New York. I mean, basketball. I mean, we're the hub of basketball, and we should have more players. I think I mean, playing collegiately, professionally, or getting into it. I mean, I want to see. I mean, I want to see New York the hub of the basketball world again, and I like to see. I know you don't have the Ruckers, and the AAU has changed a lot of things, but we still should put out some great basketball players. I'm waiting to see some more come out.
Yeah, we have a few of them out there. It's just that they leave New York City and they go out to prep schools and they go to transfer to other schools, and we don't know they're from New York until maybe later on. But I understand what you're saying, because we need to get back to work here in New York City to improve what's going
I
on.
want to see my brother Kemba Walker get well too, because he's on my team. I mean, they got a good team. I want to see him do well. He's finally got an opportunity to play. And I'm just upset that he's hurt. I mean, he's in New York, and I've been waiting to see him, do well with the Celtics. He's been hurt, but he's a New Yorker and he's a Celtic, so I'm rooting for him all the way around.
That's right. That's right. Well, before we go, Coach Johnny Mathis wanted me to tell you, say hi. I interviewed him last night. He told me to say hi. And the great Bobby Zorro Hunter.
Bobby Hunter, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for coming on the show. And it's an honor to start on Black History Month with such a legend like yourself and a hero of all of us basketball players in New York City. So I want to thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you do well. Thanks a lot, then. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Thank you for joining the show. Thank our guest, Hall of Famer Charlie Scott, for a great interview and a great history lesson. Please check out the interviews, check out the lessons. Thank you for supporting BasketballHeadzz Live. We are the official home for New York City basketball.